And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm over 50 years old and I've spent my life trying to not be something. That's not right. I should be trying to be as Scott can be.
All right, welcome to the next episode of the Road Dogs Podcast, sponsored today by Daddy's Dogs here in Madison, Tennessee. Yes, that's right. Our guest on this episode is Scott Scovill. Scott has got a lot of titles. The most important one he has for today is my friend. We go way back, and I mean literally this man and I did shows together in 1993, 94 Fanfare days, but he owns Moo TV, he owns part of Center Staging, he owns lots of things, but he's also a singer and he's also an author. And we're going to talk about all this today. So welcome, Scott.
Oh, it's great to be here. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. Yeah. Well, you know, we're at Daddy's Dogs. The whole idea here is we're just a couple of guys talking over food, and today we're having a hot dog. What did you go with here?
I made a bad choice because there's no way I'm going to, some of this is going to end up on the lens. And that's all right. This is part of the fun.
It's part of the fun.
It's called a Mac Daddy. It's got mac and cheese on it, and I added bacon because bacon. But yeah.
Does it come with a side of a cardiologist appointment?
It doesn't. I was hoping you had some skills and maybe a defibrillator.
Trust me, I have at Scott at 53. I have a cardiologist. So if we need to go there, we'll go there.
Okay.
But, right. Man, that looks hella good. But man, I'm going to jump in and have a bite. I'm having a New York dog.
And the tots are good too. All right. Well, I'll just narrate you're having a bite because you're gonna.
This is good. I'm doing the New York with some sauerkraut and mustard, a little traditional here.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get on the walls.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's good.
All right, let's just start.
You need utensils.
That's good. Yeah,
that's a good hot
dog.
Bib. Mm-hmm. Just before Scott got here, we had Daddy of Daddy's Dogs on. It was fun to hear some of his story about how he came to be, and hopefully you watch that episode. But one of the things we're talking about, he grills. These are all grilled. I grew up in a boil. How did you grow it up? How did y'all make hot dogs in your home growing up?
Boiled them.
Boil them. Yeah, it was a boil home. And so this grilling thing is new to me.
I know. It's better.
Right?
What were we doing?
I don't know. We missed the mark, Scott. Daddy's got it down here with the grilled dog. But, man, I was kind of saying a while ago, I remember meeting Scott back, for those that are not long-term Nashvillians like Scott and I, Fanfare, or CMA Fest, used to be called Fanfare, and that used to take place at the Nashville Fairgrounds. It was on a Jimmy J came and built a stage.
Yeah.
It was split into two parts, park hand rig, and it was literally A-B, A-B, A-B. And I was a production assistant for a guy named Will Bird back then, but Scott was up, you'd been in the industry a bit, but you were up and coming then, and you had just started your video company with Lee. Great man. We all miss him, but that's how far you and I go back.
Yeah, a long time. And that show was so fun, but it was crazy. We lived in a tour bus out back. We would rent a bus for the week just to live in, and it was always just the crappiest bus because what was available that time of year.
Yeah.
And us road guys have all been in some nasty showers. The shower they provided, and it was in this little woodshed.
Yes.
Oh, that thing was so nasty.
So
did you
bad.
ever have to shower that bad?
I think I did once, and that was all it took. I think I opted for
forever
the creek.
unclean.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah.
Man, but I've known you, and then Lee passed unfortunately, and then Moo TV grew, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because we work with Moo a lot. We think the world of them, and of course you've got your rehearsal facilities at the steel mill, and you've got things going on in LA. You've just got a lot going on, and then I've watched you put out Christmas records and all kinds of records, and man, you've written a book.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Ooh.
Dude.
Yeah.
Man, how long ago did you start working on this?
It took me 7 years to finish it. And one of the things I laugh about at the end of the book is that, a better author would have finished it in a year. But, it's about tenacity. It's about not giving up. And the point I make is, you use tenacity to do the things that are just maybe beyond your reach or at the edge of your reach.
Yeah.
And so I was tenacious and whittled away at it, and a whittle bit at a time, got it done. And I'm really proud of it. It's been a lot of fun releasing it. Terrifying, because it's so much of me in the book, right?
Yeah.
But it feels really good.
You're vulnerable in here?
Yeah.
We see
Very
you.
vulnerable.
We know your story.
Yeah.
And I know part of your story. We've had a lot of great talks about life. And,
when you read the book, you will learn things about me. You will learn that I was going through some stuff very recently that nobody knew about.
Well, man, I know you brought me a copy. I've also brought a few copies today. We're going to be giving these away to the first 5 people that comment on this episode on the comment section. I'm going to get these copies of them, and Scott has signed them. But
I did.
But
they all say, "To whom it may concern."
I've gotten a lot of letters like that
Dearest
from
gentle
ex-girlfriends.
Dear John.
She couldn't even call me John. I was just to whom you concern. But man, I want to start back. I know a part of your origin story, but it always fascinates me because it starts at a Holiday Inn in upstate New York, right?
Yeah, Howard Johnson's.
Well, Howard
Very
Johnson's.
close. Very close.
Man, can you recap the highlights of that story? Because it's
so
incredible.
I'm a mess. I've barely graduated high school. Last in my class, they moved me on because they literally said, "We just don't think we can help you."
Wow.
And but somehow I went on to college, and I flunked out of college. And right around then, a psychologist told me that I had such a pronounced fear of failure, it would be easier for me to grab a red-hot stove and maim myself by hanging on than to actually try and do my homework. And that
Wow.
felt right. Every time I tried to do my homework, I'd end up just a mess. I'd have a nervous breakdown. I would just have an anxiety attack.
Wow.
But back then, we didn't really know what anxiety attacks were, right?
Sure.
And that sounds funny, but really. And so I just thought I was a bad student and broken. And so the diagnosis was really helpful, but that fear of failure led me to failing. I was suddenly failing out of college, and for the first time thinking, oh my gosh, my life is going to be something less. I'm not as cool as I think I am.
Ooh.
And then also a girl was killed in a car accident that I really cared about and had been on a date with and was hoping to go on another. And so there I am at rock bottom, and this amazing bus rolls in, and I did not know what a tour bus was back then, but it had the space shuttle on the side of it. So I'm like, I want to wait on them. Maybe they work for NASA.
Right. Something.
They didn't work for NASA.
No, they didn't work.
No, they were wearing all black, and they had long hair, and I was like, oh, man. They sat in my section, and I took their drink orders and said, what's the deal with the bus? And in the thickest of Irish accents, one of them goes, oh, we work for the band U2. I'm like, what? I go back into the kitchen, and I'm getting their drinks, and I'm like, I don't understand. What? Had a million questions. And U2, by the way, is my favorite band in the world. I'm at a rock bottom moment in my life. Music is somewhere I've always found solace.
Yep.
And the Joshua Tree album was just,
Oh my gosh.
it was incredible. And
Yes.
it was really a movement like around this thing. It was a big deal. So I come back out and I go, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean that you work for the band U2? I would have thought you had to be Bono's cousin or something for that. And the guy leans back and goes, Scott, 7 of us are the very best in the world. You like my Irish accent? It's pretty good,
You're
isn't
doing
it?
a great Irish accent.
Thanks, you're very supportive. He says, Scott, 7 of us are the very best in the world at what we do. We put on the lights and the sound and the show. And he puts his arm around the guy next to him and goes, and this is AJ. He's Bono's cousin. And so everyone starts laughing, and it's a good icebreaker. But I was fascinated to learn that you could do this for a living.
Yeah.
I asked a million questions, and finally they were like, why don't you just come to the next show and ask more questions? I'm like, yeah. 3 hours away, I drive to this show, spend the day there talking to them. They're answering all my questions. I'm blown away to discover that you can do this for a living.
Yep.
And it's just interesting to me, and I'm excited and happy for the first time in 3 months. And then the lights went out, and 15,000 people went crazy, and I had a paradigm shift. Standing there in the dark, I said, this is it. This is what you're going to do with your life. You love music. You love technology. You love people. And oh my gosh, you could travel the world and watch this guy, Bono, try and make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
And I was so hooked and so excited. And a moment later, my heart sank when I realized that to do any of this, I was going to have to try.
Oh.
I made myself a promise that I was going to start trying and never stop trying, no matter how much it hurt, until I was on the road with U2. Now, I did some of the dumbest things. My plan was so insanely bad. I dropped out of school, which it's sort of like quitting the instant your boss is firing you, right? I had 0 credits, 2 semesters in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I quit. I dropped out of school and quit my 3 jobs, sold my Super Sport Camaro, and moved into the back of my Subaru Brat and started driving to every U2 show. And not to go to the shows, I would sneak in and do the loadout every night.
Okay.
So I lived in my car for 5 weeks, exhausted, driving all night. When everyone's sleeping on the bus, I'm following the buses so I can find where the next gig is, because this is way before GPSs.
Sure.
And almost drove off the road a dozen times asleep. Got arrested nearly 3 times.
Wow.
Talked my way out of 3 arrests for trespassing, sneaking in past security. Got bronchitis from working in the freezing rain and having nowhere safe to go, which turned into walking pneumonia.
Oh, gosh.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was learning how to latch cases.
Yeah.
I was learning how to coil cables properly. I was pushing things up the ramp. And I was a part of the show, and I was hooked, and I have never looked back since.
Man, I love that. And what a kickoff with a legendary act like that. And I'd like to think that as you were in the trenches those weeks in that car and you were in that arena, that the crew from U2 that you had met at the restaurant that night were coming up to you and giving you just the advice and wisdom and the attaboys you needed to keep going, so that you knew that you were trying was paying off.
At first, they were like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Hey, we're our waiter, and
but by the end of it, I was something of a mascot for a few of them. And what's been great about writing the book is I reconnected with some of them, wanting to get my facts straight. And it's been so great. Like this guy, Lawrence Anderson, was part of the show power crew.
Okay.
And that was like the last thing I would do, because the last thing out is the power, because it's power in all the motors and everything,
Sure.
right? And so I'd be pulling 4-aught and stuff, and I found him on Facebook and said, "I think this is you. Do you remember this kid that lived in his Subaru Brat?" And I go, "Would you mind calling me?" He calls me and he's like, "Dude, how can I forget you? You were nuts." And it was great. I got to, it was 30-something years ago, so I wanted to get my story straight. But it was awesome reconnecting with some of the people, especially Lawrence. And he has power here in town now. And we were talking. He said, "Oh, I just moved a couple generators to Nashville." I'm like, "Cool. I'm producing Garth Brooks' CBS broadcast. You want to be the power for it?" He's like, "Sure." So I hired his generators, and it's
small
been
world.
great.
I love that full circle moment there.
Yeah, it was cool.
Man. And you come out of that, and what specifically drew you to the video side of your career? Because so many people know you as tied in with MoTV.
Yeah.
What was that transition like from hands dirty on those living out your car
lighting and power and all that? So we got in trouble with the union. The union found out about me in Buffalo and threatened to fine the band $5,000 for having non-union labor there. And so they told me at least that they probably weren't going to have to pay the $5,000, but management found out about me because of that incident. And they were like, "What are you doing? You can't let this kid he's going to fall asleep in the middle of the night and crash and die, and his parents are going to sue us, and his life's going to be on your hands."
Yes.
So they're telling me I round the corner with a road case in Buffalo, loading out like I've been doing for weeks. I'm winning. They're going to hire me any minute now.
Right.
And I round the corner, and one of them goes, "Drop the case and go out the closest door. We'll see you in Pittsburgh." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Drop the case, go out the closest door now.
Oh.
See you in Pittsburgh." And I went like, shit. And I go to Pittsburgh, drive all the way to Pittsburgh. And the story was just coming together for them. But they call me up on the bus first thing in the morning, and they're like, "Hey, we're really sorry we told you to come to Pittsburgh, because it turns out you got to go home." And
that had to be devastating.
Yeah. And I was from New York. I was in my home state.
Right. I know. Yeah.
But no, it was devastating. But they said, like, "Look, let us know how we can help. Like, you've made an impression on us you've been relentless. You've been tenacious.
Yep.
And let us know how we can help. And what do you think you want to do?" And I said, "Absolutely video," which surprised all of them. They were like, "Why?" And I said, "Because video is brand new." So I am so old that Joshua Tree was like the second tour to have video. Journey had it first. And even Joshua Tree was getting their system when Journey wasn't using it. Mm-hmm. Like, it was so new, there was like a video system. But I realized if I was new to the industry, do I want to be at the bottom rung of the lighting ladder, which was also really interesting to me, a 20-rung ladder, or do I want to be at the bottom rung of the video ladder, which has like 1.5 rungs? Like, if I start now, I'm going to be one of the guys.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but what did video look like at that time?
It looked bad. It looked dark and blurry.
Well, and really, just for the younger listeners, we're probably just talking 2 IMAX screens, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking even an upstage projection wall or anything.
And you're sort of indicating side of stage. This were stadium shows, and they were putting them behind the mix tower at 45-degree angle. So you two would have them behind the mix tower for the people in the cheapest seats.
Oh, so we're not even talking direct stage, right stage, left. So this is really new.
Yeah.
Really new.
And really just for the people in the cheapest seats.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the technology was a nightmare. There's this General Electric was contracted by the government to make a projector for war rooms and flight simulators.
Okay.
And they got a government grant, and they figured out how to do it. And the projectors were $250,000 a piece, which in today's dollars is over $1 million a piece. And they were like this high, and they were an absolute nightmare. You'd have to turn them on an hour before you put any light through them. Like, they had to warm up.
Okay.
They broke all the time. It was a nightmare gig. But that's why they told me about it. Lawrence called me 2 weeks after they sent me home, and I'm thinking, are they ever going to call? And Lawrence called me and said, hey, man, there's this thing called a light valve video projector. It's an absolute nightmare, and nobody wants to do it, and it's the worst job on the road, period.
Okay.
But we were thinking that the kid that spent 5 weeks living in his car might be tenacious enough or dumb enough, pick your descriptor.
Ask Mikey, he'll try anything.
To do it, yeah. He'll do it. And they were right. And I dove in and figured out how to run those projectors, and he said, if you do that, everyone will hire you. And I was immediately in demand because I was doing the job nobody wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And man, from there, I got to imagine that technology starts to evolve in the world of concerts. I know we're years from LED at this point. I know we're probably years from even seeing what we would call an upstage wall. I mean, we're still truly just doing IMAG projection. That's all we're doing.
But, it wasn't too long. So that was 87 was my U2 stuff. By 89, I knew the projectors pretty well. I'd worked for a company in D.C. doing corporate video, great company. And I got hired by the Rolling Stones. And the Rolling Stones were side screens. We were on the side of the stage.
Okay.
And at front of house. But the next tour I did in 1990 was David Bowie, and David Bowie was video very integrated into the show, and it was incredible. It's still the coolest thing I've ever done. I mean, I've been going downhill since 1990, really.
Well, I was going to say, can we stop for a moment to acknowledge that your first 3 tours were U2, the Rolling Stones, and David Bowie?
I know.
I mean, hello. I mean, you skipped the whole club circuit there on the country tours, but man, what a great thing.
But that was video. Video only did the biggest things then.
That's a good point, yeah.
And it still only does the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Right? Which I kind of miss. I think a club tour would be fun. I've never done one.
Right.
You don't do that in video.
No, that's true. You kind of get picked up on that theater to small arena level and up and go from there. But man, that is incredible. And so that Bowie tour in particular, I start thinking about the history of lighting, and I know you know this, but a lot of people don't realize the history of concert lighting in terms of visuals. In the 70s, a lot of them were done with projection, but it was an overhead projector with
I got a story about that.
With oil.
Yeah. I was doing Metallica's, doing a long-form video for Metallica, and the band was super involved creatively. It was an absolute blast, because who doesn't love Metallica?
Right, yeah.
Right? They're
Awesome.
badass, but
Yes.
they're cool, too.
Yes.
And they come to me and they go like, hey, man, we want one of those liquid light shows, like, in the 70s and all that. Like, can you do that? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, awesome. How are you going to do that? I'm like, I don't know. That just leave me be. And I happen to be in San Francisco, and I go up to the Union Head, and I go, hey man, do you know, like, I might be in the right town for this. Do you know anyone that does a liquid light show? And he goes, let's call him Larry. He goes, oh yeah, Larry. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Can you introduce me to Larry? He's like, he's a piece of work. Like, he's the guy that's been doing it forever. He's an old guy. And I'm like, yeah, introduce me to Larry. I call this guy, and I'm like, and he goes, well, yeah, I got a projector set up in my house. Can you bring a camera out here? I'm like, yeah. He has a projector set up and ready to go in his house. And he's the guy who's been doing it for the Dead forever and all this stuff.
Doing the oils
and so we show up and we're playing him the Metallica stuff. And he's like, man, I don't know. And I'm like, he's like, I just can't. I'm not feeling it. And I'm like, okay. Beats per minute. What about this Grateful Dead song? That is half as many beats per minute, exactly.
Yeah.
What about this? Oh, yeah, man, I could do it to that. Could I drop a little acid, too? I'm like, it's your house, Larry.
Go for it,
And Larry
Larry.
dropped some acid, and we put some Grateful Dead on and had the most amusing afternoon. I did not do any acid, by the way. But we got some great footage, and doing it half speed was kind of cool because speeding it up made it even more Metallica, right? And they walked in the next day, and I had it playing on the screen, and they came over, and they were high-fiving, and they were like, dude, yes!
I would love to have been a fly on the wall
cool.
in Larry's house. Oh, my
Cool.
gosh,
Isn't it
man.
fun being in entertainment? Get to, like, I mean, these guys are like heroes of mine, right? Like, who doesn't love Metallica?
You know what? I hope this generation never, I mean, I hope that it never gets taken for granted some of what the forefathers and mothers of this industry did to help drive technology. You know, everything now, I feel like I don't want the art to get lost because of the technology, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Things got so much easier.
They did get easier. They did. Look, you're talking to the LD who had 120 part cans.
Yeah.
And now I just, you know,
Yeah.
and I've said this too, Scott. I've said,
Dial
listen,
them in.
I said, man, I'd like to take one of these up and coming LDs and let's give them 120K and say, all right, pick your gels, do your focus, pick your lamp, your width of lamp, and let's see what to create a light show.
Yeah.
Because that's how you really can push your, you know.
I can't figure out if that's a fun summer camp or something you do instead of public service when you get arrested for
Right,
something.
yeah.
But one of the two. But it'd be
Yes.
fun to watch.
Yeah, it'd be, yes. But man, your video journey, you know, I know at one point, all of a sudden you're buying gear and you're starting to buy in gear and you're like, all of a sudden you're a rental house.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be creative. I saw so many people, video was new. It was starting to be on stage. And everybody was hiring their brother-in-law that went to film school or their music video director, because those are the people that knew video. And while these people were very talented, typically, what they were trained to do and conditioned to do was tell a story inside a rectangle.
Yeah.
And if you pair that with something as literal as country music, which is where I was by this point, you hear a pickup truck and you look at the screen and you see a pickup truck. Someone's talking about dancing and there's boots across the screen.
Right.
It gets very literal, and I think it gets distracting. So it's awesome to tell a powerful story on screen during a song, but don't do that 20 songs in a row.
Right?
And nobody got that sometimes there should just be flames on the screen.
Yep.
Or time lapses of clouds, or any of
Yes.
the things that were the early metaphors that got way overused.
Sure.
But they were cool, and you know, and colored patterns,
Screensavers,
words, and worst of all, turning the screen off. Nobody got that.
Right.
And I went to my boss, who ended up being my business partner later in life, before we lost him, Lee,
Yep.
and said, I really want to spend about 50 grand, because now you can do all that with your phone. Back then it was 50 grand worth of gear that was big and heavy and clunky and flaky. To do this. I want to help us be more creative. I want to make a little tiny business out of it, and we're going to be better at everything.
Yeah.
People are going to want to use us. And he's like, I think you're inventing an industry. So yeah, I'll let you moonlight, but it's not going to be moonlighting because I'm going to be your 50-50 partner. We're going to do this.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I don't think we're inventing an industry. I think we were. Like, and it's not to say that other people weren't doing it, but nobody was doing it full time. So Moo TV, I'm proud to say, is the first creative content company that I've ever heard of, and no one's told me otherwise. That's not to say people weren't doing it,
Right.
but they were mostly doing other things, and then someone would hire them to do their content.
I believe that. Based on my own career history, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I got to ask, at this phase in your career, we talked early on about your story, about failure, fear of trying, and fear of failure, which I've also struggled with, by the way. Fear,
Yeah.
I still struggle with a lot of fear of failure. But where in this point in your story, where are you at with the fear of failure and your try? Like, are you balls to the wall all in, or are you still?
You know, I've never been an alcoholic, but I heard an alcoholic say that you don't beat alcoholism and then move on with your life. You beat it every day of your life.
Ooh.
And you never stop wanting that drink or feeling it, right? And that may not be true for every alcoholic, but when he said that, I thought, well, that's how the fear is for me. I never stop being afraid. Fear can be a good thing. You just want the fear that's appropriate to you, right? If you're an antelope in the wild and you walk up to a bunch of lions because you have no fear and say, "What's up, dudes? You're
Yeah.
going to be lunch," right?
Yes.
You want an appropriate amount of fear.
Sure.
But so much of my fear was not appropriate, and that fear of failure is almost always not justified, right? And so I know all the reasons why I had mine. We won't get into that. But what was great is when I found a dream, I wanted to be on the road with U2. I wanted to be a part of the music.
Yeah.
I started trying, and for a couple of things happened right away. I was that kid who was failing and was ashamed, and that's who I was. I was failing and I was ashamed. And the moment I started trying, I was the kid who was trying. And that was really different. But as hard as it was, and I won't lie, I had many breakdowns. I used to go hide and cry on job sites.
Oh, wow.
Because I was not okay. Because it would well up in me, and I would just, ugh. But I worked through it, and all of those mental pathways that were formed within me when I was a kid
Yep.
at a really young age that were teaching me this crap that didn't really belong to me,
Yep.
they were deep and rutted. But I've made new pathways next to them, and little by little I started to walk that path more and more, and I learned that it was okay to fail. And then I learned that failure is where you learn everything.
Yes.
And it's where all the growth comes from.
Yes.
And I really learned that it's got to be part of your journey. It's the only way you're going to make it across the river. There's going to be stepping stones of failures, and you're going to learn a lot from them, and hopefully not repeat exactly the same thing.
Yep.
But you need it. And so in the 3 years that I spent desperately trying to be on the road, and I will say almost the first year of being on the road with the Stones, I felt like I was failing all the time, and I quit.
Yep.
My boss wouldn't let me quit, but I was like, I'm dying at this. And so about 3.5, 4 years, and I just started to look around me, especially after they wouldn't let me quit, and I said, am I doing okay? And I was actually living my dream.
Yeah.
While I was sitting there telling myself I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And that journey and realizing and letting myself celebrate me and letting myself go like, wow, dude, I really remember landing in Japan. The Stones were in U.S. first. I'd never been out of the country. We spent a month in Tokyo at 21 years old. I mean, it was awesome. And I started to go like, wow, my life is cool. And so it took a long time. And I would say that I was I was so driven after that if something scared me, I'd run straight towards it.
Yep.
And I did that for a long time. And then I'll be honest, the pandemic hit. And I'm already feeling myself getting, for 18 months, I couldn't take care of my people.
Yeah.
And it made me fail. And so I had spent the better part of a lifetime reinforcing that I was not failing. And if I did, it was okay.
Yeah.
And then I spent 18 months failing, and it wasn't okay, as I kept thinking of who's the next employee that I'm going to bring in and tell him that I just can't keep him anymore if there's going to be anything left when he's gone, or whose pay am I going to cut? And so I lost for a little while.
Yeah.
But I'm back.
Yes.
And I'm trying things, and I'm doing things, and I am failing, and I'm learning, and I'm living. But it is something that you just have to keep working against. For me, it'll just be something I'll always be up against. It's also a great motivator.
It is, man. And you and I, because we've been friends so long, we've had a lot of what I like to call below the line conversations. And with, like you said, without getting into details, both of our fears of failures come from the same place, and we know what they are. And it's a journey. It's a struggle, and I have good days and bad days too. And look, I don't have the employees you have or the business size you have. Fear of failure comes in different faces, but man, it's real. And I've just resolved to be my genuine self, as you have. to go out and to treat people the best I can, to treat people the way the old adage, treat people the way you want to be treated, and to take those lessons when I'm fired from an act or when the show doesn't go as planned, and you take those and you pick up and you just go do the best you can to not repeat those same mistakes.
Yep.
That's the key.
Yeah, and it hurts, but all that builds character. And my gosh, I admire your character, your
ditto.
integrity, and who you are. And so, if all that's part of it, then great. Like, I don't want to remove any of the hurt from my past. It's part of the recipe of how I got here, and it's taught me a lot.
Yes.
I don't wish hurt on me in the next 10 minutes, but if it comes, I will deal with it, and it will just become a part of my story.
You're right. The scars are kind of permanently always with us, but we can either choose to try to hide them and cover them up, or we look at them and we know that scar made us who we are today, and it's part of our story and who defines who we are now. Yeah.
And the last, second to last and third to last chapters in the book, I look really hard at myself. They're right after the pandemic.
Man.
And one of them's called A Look in the Mirror, and that's a pretty good metaphor for it. And I just argue that, on your journey, your tenacious journey through life, where you're trying to have the very best life you can, you are the central character, you're the star. And it's really worth taking a really long, hard look at who you are, why you are, and what you want. And so, like we just talked about being grateful for some of the hurt. So what I got out of the pandemic is a dear friend came to me afterwards and said, "You're not okay." And it was right as we were coming out of it. And I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I've got this type of therapy I want you to look at." And I'm like, okay. I'm always open to that. I'd had some great luck with EMDR, okay. And I realized as he was talking, I was like, wait a minute, what did you just say, medicine? What kind of medicine? And I'm like, oh God, you're talking about drugs. Like, absolutely not. I've spent my entire life in the music business and haven't done any of that.
Right.
No way. My dad was addicted to cigarettes and alcohol. No.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm just telling you a story, so can I just finish? Are you interested in my story? And I'm like, well, of course.
Yeah.
And he finished telling me the story, and it was intriguing. And I started doing research. And, and I ended up, a part of my journey that never would have happened, I don't think, if it weren't for the pandemic, is that I decided to embrace trying psychedelic therapy. Mm-hmm. Incredibly powerful for me.
Okay.
I'm so grateful for the work that I did. I went to a very legitimate facility with a doctor and a nurse and two people watching over you the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was really something. And I saw and learned a lot about me. And one of the things that I feel like I learned is that I had spent a lot of my life trying really hard to not be something.
Yeah.
I was very afraid that I was going to be something. I don't want to get into what all that was.
Yep.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm over 50 years old and I've spent my life trying to not be something. That's not right. I should be trying to be as Scott can be.
Yep.
And what a gift to get that insight. And I am very grateful for the fear that drove all of the success that puts me in this place in life that I'm at right now.
Yep.
But I think really differently nowadays. I think, what do I need to do? What do I want to do?
Absolutely.
For me.
And that's got to have been so freeing, kind of starting to break through these chains that have been around you for so long, and have held you down, but also defined you and allowed you to break, to find this trajectory of where you're headed.
Yeah.
I mean, what even as long as you've been in the industry, this is a whole new chapter because of this discovery.
Yeah, I think we should all live the most interesting life we can live, and I'm doing that for me. Like, it's been interesting, and I think a lot of it goes back to the fear. Like, it was terrifying to do the psychedelics. In my mind, I was afraid that I was going to discover something that I didn't want to know, that I was going to be addicted, that I was going to break my brain, and that I was going to wet the bed. These were my fears. And after I got out of them, not only were none of those things true,
Sure.
not remotely, but I realized that wasn't what I was really afraid of. Chris, what I was really afraid of was that I was going to see me and not like what I saw.
Wow.
Talk about scary, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, guess what? I saw me, and I pretty much am, you know what I am? I'm me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. And
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can,
Yep.
and I love me. And it all ended up okay.
Yeah.
But it was so scary, and I'm so glad that I faced that fear. You know, in the book I talk about, like, you know, I'm a huge hockey fan. So
Sure.
Colin Wilson I picked a couple hockey players to be in the book. There's a lot of guests that write little
Sure.
sections. And Colin had OCD really bad and was in denial about it. And it really affected his life, his career, and it was hard. When you read his section, it's hard. But he says, look, I'm not telling you this stuff so you'll feel sorry for me. I have lived a life that I'm immensely proud of and have mostly lived my dreams. But I did most of that dragging this anchor behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And while it would have been far harder in the moment to haul that anchor up, I would love to have seen where my life would have taken me without dragging that anchor.
Wow.
I really wish I had done the work. So the reason I'm writing in this book is to encourage you to, what are your anchors that you're dragging behind you, and reel them in.
Yeah, and you know, I've been very open to, and I love. First of all, I want to acknowledge how open and honest your story is, and how you being willing to share that's not only good for others to hear, but this is good for your own journey too. Obviously, is talking about your journey, and doing that work on myself, and you know, embracing therapy for what it is, and you know, I've said too, like, I don't have any, like, my childhood trauma is not from abuse of any kind, but it's just from other stuff, and finding out what those triggers are and what makes me me. And man, look, I'm still at work. I have bad days still. I have bad days where I can't always be positive and have the greatest outlook. And man, I just try to reground myself and surround myself with good people that remind me of my good traits. And help push me to be the best version of me I can be, knowing that there's still, look, I'm 53, there's going to be more roadblocks. There's going to be some stumbling, but just to pick myself back up and keep going.
Yeah, and let's hear it for those good people we surround ourselves with, right?
It's key, right?
Like, it's so great. So
I've talked about with a couple of guests, and I think you would agree with this, but our industry, none of us are what I would call textbook normal. I've used this analogy, and I love it, and I'm going to continue to use it. The island of misfit toys.
I knew you were going to say that, and I use it also.
We're all just a little broken.
We're a little broken, but we're awesome.
We're awesome.
Yeah.
And talking about when you find your people and you embrace being the misfit that you are, and whatever that part of you that is broken, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, whatever it is that makes you a little broken, and you just accept you for you, and you jump in and live your life, its true, authentic self, it's freeing, man.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It really is.
It is freeing.
Man, talk to me about some of the other guests that we can hear about in your book.
Yeah, you know, so tenacity has made all the difference in my life. I am not the best looking. I am not the smartest. I am not the anythingest. But when I find something I love, I do not give up. And so years ago, someone said, you need to write books. And I said, I don't think so. That's not really in the cards for me. And the next day, their publisher called me and said, so I hear I'm doing some books with you, Scott. And I said, but that made me think about it. And I said, I don't even know what I'd write about. And then I was thinking, and what I came up with was, well, tenacity has made all the difference in my life. That's what I have to say that might help people.
Yeah.
And when I started thinking about it, I said, well, God, all of my artists are the same. And so what's fascinating to me was I Googled it, and no one's written a book on just plain tenacity. There's a great book by Angela Duckworth called Grit.
Okay.
That's really sort of about the same thing, but she's a psychologist and a professor telling you how it is.
Okay.
I thought there should be a book that tells you how it is in your life. Like, pick somebody, like, my favorite parts of her book was like, this person did this, and because all this crap happened to them, they went on to be amazing and do that. And I'm like, that's cool, but I want to hear that first person.
Yeah.
So this book is first person accounts. We never tell you what to do. That was my only directive to the people in the book. And I tried to get just a diverse group of people. And, you know, there are people in here with photographic memories. There's people in here with pitch perfect hearing. There's people in here that are very physically attractive. There's athletes with incredible natural balance, all things you can't learn.
Yeah.
But if you ask any of these people why they made it, they will all tell you it's because they didn't give up. none of them will ever talk about the talents. And I was like, that's a story that needs to be shared. So, back to your question. Stormy Warren wrote the foreword. Colin Wilson, NHL star, is in Chapter 1. Picked him because of the OCD. Chapter 2 is Jonathan Cain from Journey talking about writing Don't Stop Believin'.
Oh, man.
Chapter 3 is Dierks Bentley. Chapter 4 is my mom, or 5 is my mom. She's the only one that's not famous, but she's my favorite.
I love
and she's an incredible woman.
I love that.
Kate Snow, the NBC anchor. So I've tried to pick all walks of life. Then there's a little interlude where Chris Young comes in and talks about failing, and then astronaut Thomas Marshburn comes in and talks about failing.
Okay.
So then it's Peter Frampton, Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, Navy SEAL, an alpha entrepreneur, and Brad Paisley.
Man, I love that.
So there's 17 guests, and they all have the same. They all just agree. Like, tenacity is it. And so isn't that a story worth sharing?
I love that, man, and I love that you've put so much of your story and your heart into this. I can't wait to read it and really dive in. You know, again, we go way back, and I know a lot of your story, but to see it in writing and hear it in these words, I'm really excited to dig in and do that.
Thanks,
man, what's next for Scott? What's good? I know you've
you know,
got
the music
brewing.
is fired back up again because once again, Brad Paisley has asked me to be his opening act. So
Awesome.
I will be, and that's another fun, tenacious story. I mean, I didn't think I could sing until I was in my late 40s, and now I'm performing in front of 10,000 people as Brad's opening act.
I love it.
So,
I
yeah.
love it.
So June 11th and 13th, I'll be in Norway with Brad, and then there's some other shows coming up that I'm not talking about just
No.
yet. I'm releasing an album again. I've got 10 originals and 2 covers that I'm in progress with, and I feel really good about them. A number of them are some heavy subjects handled with some levity.
Okay.
But there's a great song called I'm Gonna Put You in the Ground that makes you think I murdered somebody.
Okay.
And I didn't.
Okay, well, good. I like that.
murdered fear and doubt
I
that
love
didn't
that.
belong within me.
Wow.
And then the last line of the song sounds like an old Western song, like, you know. And the last line is, and as the smoke clears, I find that I have all of me, standing over what's left of who I used to be.
Man, that's good.
So it's fun, right? So
That's
music
good.
is next, and then who knows? I've been pondering a movie too. So
Always something, man. I love it.
Yeah,
You
I
stay
like to do
busy.
things.
And
Yeah.
personally, you're good. Everything's clicking
great.
along.
Katie
man.
and I are very in love. We bought a house that we love, and we have 2 great dogs. And
I love seeing you in love. Again, I've known you for 30 years now, and seeing you in love has been one of my favorite versions of you. I love Singer Scott. I love Moo TV Scott, but In Love Scott is really fun because I know you've been, you know, this is really special for you.
Yeah.
And I know Katie's great for you, and I'm really excited for you, man.
Yeah,
Man, dude, taking the time to join us today is so incredible. I
it's
can't.
fun.
I can't
I'm in
thank
it for
you
the hot
enough.
dog, which is amazing, by the
Right?
way. Daddy's
I mean,
dogs.
Daddy knows his dogs.
The Mac
man.
Daddy.
The Mac Daddy.
The Mac
I mean, I
Daddy.
got to tell you, that's like every food group is represented.
It's hard to eat though, so as soon as we finish this thing, I'm going to
You're going
wolf
to gobble
this
it down. You're gobble it down. Folks, the book is tenacious. Scott Scovill. Again, first 5 people to comment on this post here on our release of this podcast. We're going to get this out to you. Scott has signed this. Thank you again for being here, Scott. Thank
My
you
pleasure,
for
man.
putting your
My
heart and your
pleasure.
story
Yeah.
into this. Man, we can't wait to see what's next for Scott Scovill.
Awesome. I'm having fun, buddy. I love you.
Love you too, bud.